Okay, we're recording, letting Presley in, and Payam, I believe you have the floor. You're on mute. There you
go. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, I'm going to share my screen so I can just go over the comments. Please let me know if you can see my screen.
Got it.
All right, perfect. Well, hello, everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time to review the APPR report for the BSPM program. As I noted in my report, we are very glad to announce that both BSPM and MSPM were reaccredited by PMI's GAC, and the comments were highly positive with no recommendations for any changes. So we're very happy about that. So Greg, like previous years, you just want me to go through the comments, and if there are questions, I
think that you're fine doing that. This is an older program. I think most people know what the program is all about.
Right.
I wouldn't kind of go into minutia, but highlight some of the more important aspects that you're looking to address.
Sure. So your comment here, I didn't really follow what you were asking.
Yeah, so what I'm asking here is, notice the N in here. In the N, they put it in the yellow highlighted area. You've got EOCE school, EOCE program. The N for school is 1557, which is 33%. The N for program is 110, which is 40%. I just wondered if there was like a target that you're trying to reach. Are we trying to reach like a 60%, or does the program have something like that?
Again, I'm not sure if I'm well, the data I work with, Christian, as you know, the data that we had originally was wrong. So I'll have to dig deeper to first make sure that what we're looking at is accurate, and then based on that, we'll make a decision to set a baseline. For ACBSB, we are working closely with Christian to make sure that all this data will get extracted accurately, so we can use them for future reports. So positive development here. There was strong mention that you communicated with faculty. Yeah, so the communication, we use multiple channels to communicate with our instructors. It was a combination of live meetings, Zoom meetings, and then we recorded those sessions. I asked Anna to send the link to those instructors who weren't able to attend, and also I've been working with SPM Senior Project Manager to create these set of guidelines and instructions to consistently share those with our instructors on expectations, best practices, and so forth. So it's been through multiple channels, and of course email. And I do communicate with my instructors on a regular basis, especially through phone. That's what most of them, since the full-time jobs, it's been a easier way for them to stay in contact with me. Sure. Ali left a last minute, and I'm just giving him a hard time. Last minute comment about 5 minutes ago.
Yep,
this is the next. Yeah, thank you, Ali.
And maybe we can open that. I don't want to disturb like your presentation, but maybe later on we can open up that conversation, because I know that's a big challenge for almost every school here, and I would love to hear how you guys came up to kind of solve and address that issue, given our student population. and where we're trying to direct and take our students. But maybe we can discuss that later.
Yes, this is actually, as I've been mentioning in these sessions, we are running a series of experimentations to see what works, but more importantly, what doesn't work. And this actually came out of one of those experiments that I asked a few instructors to extract some positive comments that the students had shared about their team experience, and I think I incorporated some of, yes, as you can see here, they were extremely happy with how the team project went. So then they started sharing these comments with their students via the announcement, or mentioning them during the class if the class was in person. And it's sort of based on the feedback I heard, it sort of motivated students to look forward. At least some of them. We are making progress, and as we all know, team projects are not very popular in any schools, especially CDU. So it's been a very positive step forward, and yeah, we can talk about it.
Sure thing. Thank you.
Later.
Thank you.
Yeah. Joel, I think your comment was just a positive feedback, a compliment. I appreciate it. It's a good strategy. Okay. So Greg, you asked about the initiatives incorporated into the program's improvement areas in upcoming years. We're still, as I mentioned, we are in the ideation phase, so we're still exchanging ideas, and once we get these established, then we'll transform it into actual initiatives for implementation. What was there? Was there any other question about this part?
No, it's
Okay.
just the general idea of how are we, what's happening, so that maybe it
Right.
generates some additional discussion. Maybe there's others in the group that are doing something similar, or not, or
Right.
maybe what you say can promote some new approaches that are not being taken yet.
Sounds good. And Joel, you asked if we could outsource the challenge with the PM software. Daniel, our senior project manager, has been in contact with a couple of companies that provide project management software, and these are web-based, so we don't have to generate individual solutions for Mac users versus PC users.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Yeah.
And really, Payam, the comment is more just when we're looking at any program that integrates a software solution as part of the curriculum, when we're trying to scale that amongst other departments or programs, I know we support software here, but it might be a capacity issue. So certainly, what are some other creative solutions to get technology in the student's hands so that we can integrate whatever solution it is in that class, program, or even school? That's kind of the general question. And that's a bigger question. Outsourcing certainly is a strategy, but maybe there's some other creative ones in terms of sharing or something between schools or programs. So just more of a comment and opening up more discussion in the bigger realm than anything else.
Outsourcing is definitely one route, but as you know, it could also be very costly, and that's what we're seeing right now. So yeah, we're trying to explore, but we also met with IT, and they said they're extremely busy and won't have time to provide any support. So we will have to do something internally.
Just my 2 cents here. There are a couple of Microsoft-based project management tools as part of our Office 365 licensing.
It didn't work out. We tried it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, we are looking at some web-based PM software or programs, and they're AI-based. We've been using them internally. at SPM, but to get the you know, to get individual students access, we are trying to negotiate with those companies. So we'll see where it goes. But right now we have a temporary solution. So Greg, you asked about this table. When I received the template, it was blank. It usually has numbers because I know your admin would go in and add the data. So I wasn't sure if you know, the admin wasn't able to find data, but I worked with Christian yesterday.
That's great.
And we were able to identify, to find the data that we needed. And here it is.
I'm sure that you haven't had a chance to really look at it, but hopefully as we move forward, the data that we do have, you know, especially showing there's 100% in the exceed standards, you might find some really interesting reasons as to why, or really theorize as to, well, maybe these are too easy, right? Kind of a thought. You know, what we're trying to accomplish, of course, is at standard, exceed standard. But of course, we don't want everyone to kind of just breeze through either.
Right. The issue that happened with the data part was that you know, an assumption was made that the PM courses will only have the PM prefix, so that whoever pulled the data was just looking at those courses, whereas you know, we also have multiple courses that start with, for example, BUS at the core of the BSPM. So I'm sure if we pull the you know, if we pull accurate data, we'll have a better presentation. Thank you, Heather. Yeah, this was, as I mentioned at the beginning, it was a very exciting news, and it's been reaccredited, so we're happy about it. There was a question about DI, or the DR efforts. DI is woven into all SPM's programs, and we don't necessarily intend to measure it separately as we pursue a more holistic approach towards cultivating SPM's ecosystem. And so given the global nature of SPM's programs, we believe that, you know, businesses, students must gain a more global understanding and definition of DI. In fact, this morning I did receive an email from one of my instructors expressing how you know, exciting it is to work with you know, students from, I'm looking at her email, from 6 different areas of the world, and she said, you know, because of this diverse range of students, she's creating you know, she was excited to create a welcoming learning environment, and teaching herself to speak in Cantonese, German, Japanese, Mandarin, Spanish, and Vietnamese. So the experience has been very positive, and it's been a very diverse team. And from what I'm hearing, great interactions among students and faculty. Joel had a comment. This is an exciting area to see and something to consider for coming year. Projects usage.
Yeah, the comment is more, as these opportunities for students to do research or projects outside that impact the community, to think, and again, another conversation, systemically about a way of curating those, to have it as artifacts so that we can showcase the work that we're doing, not just for us, obviously, but more externally facing, that builds some stature of the program, and like, oh, this is cool. Look at what PM students are doing. They did a whole project management with Microsoft Project, you know, I mean, whatever it is. So just thinking of ways that we can work together to figure out how and who will curate that, and a system of doing so, because we have lots of them.
One of the things that some programs, like Canada's doing a ton of this, is they're using the academic repository through the library to house some of their capstone projects, and it gets a huge number of hits. It's pretty impressive. It's integrated into Google search, and so it pops up when people are finding things, and students have the option to do either open access or upon request. So they kind of control that, but it's a possibility of one
Yeah.
place that those things could be showcased.
And it's a marketing thing too. I mean, it's certainly easy marketing when students do a cool project. If people hear about it, that's more attraction and stature for the program, for all our programs.
Sounds good. Greg, you asked about the details of our mega revamp project. So I added here, we identified broken links, and so these actually have been identified and removed or fixed in multiple master shells. We are also making a transition to go from PMBOK 6 to PMBOK 7. PMBOK 7 was actually added to our library archive, when it came out. So we already had it. And we let our students know that it is available, but obviously it takes some time to make a full transition into it. And we've also identified newer editions of textbooks for BSPM courses, and we'll be updating the list soon. And we are also going through some PowerPoint slides that have been incorporated into some of these courses to make sure that they're functioning, and that we also update the contents to make sure we're offering timely knowledge and skills to our students.
So Payam, take another minute. We got to move into Candace here pretty quick, okay?
I think I'm pretty much done. Have you received any recommendations or kudos from these individuals? Yes, Heather, we have received, especially with the GAC reaccreditation. We've received a lot of positive feedback from the advisory board. And I guess that's it.
Wonderful, thank you. Candace, go ahead and share your screen. Go ahead and remove that portion of screen for you from yours, Payam.
Yeah, I'm gonna just stop sharing.
Okay. Can everybody see that okay?
Got it.
No?
Yes, got it. All good.
Okay, cool. Wanted to thank everybody for their comments. The MSPM, since I came on board last January, has gone through several changes and revisions and updates. And I think the main thing I want to highlight is the touch points with the faculty. I've made sure that we've got a good relationship with faculty. I pared down the faculty as well. There were some that maybe weren't as invested as I'd like them to be. So that's, I think, made a big difference too. And the touch bases with the students is a really big thing for me as well. So when I teach, and I encourage my faculty to do this, and several of them are, having those synchronous office hours and getting feedback from the students, not just making it about, the content that's there or things like that, but what's working for you, what's not. I've asked them to try to glean that qualitative data and collect it, although we haven't really been collecting it as well as I would like. But basically, if we look at the data that's available here, I didn't see any comments I thought needed to be addressed for this program. Everyone seems, the qualitative comments are pretty positive. We do know that we have some issues with a couple of rubrics that were generic rubrics that were put in the past, that we're going in and revising the courses as we go. The big issue that we really solved with the PM 630 and 635 is they were kind of duplicate courses. And so I've worked with the instructor there who's bringing in the live cases, which we're really excited about. So they've done some work with the Hospital of Providence, they've done some work with the Coast Guard, some work with the Navy, working on projects to actually solve those real-time issues, and we've gotten really good positive feedback from the students once we fixed those two courses. So thank you, Heather, for your comment there. The headcounts are there. Our enrollments are obviously down. That has increased this year. So I'm working with the advisors to get more students into the program. I kind of languished in the past, and I think that the changes that we've made and the things that we're doing will actually increase those enrollments, and I'm really hopeful. As far as this data goes, the PDG had not been completed by the prior program director that was running the program. And so since we didn't have a finalized PDG, CCI wasn't able to put anything in Brightspace to gain or glean any data out of there. That has been rectified. I've been working very closely with Mary, and we now are on target and on track to collect data. So although I don't have any data here, I made just a couple of comments and assumptions based on my own observations and what was happening. All of the core courses are being updated. AAC approved a 33 credits MSPM. So we've incorporated some of the MBA courses as well to help drive registrations there. And we pared the degree down, and that is set to launch in the fall. From talking to the advisors, I've had very positive feedback. And the students are excited about it as well. So we're hoping that that will make a difference to now that we have the good program outcomes, we have the PDG set in place, and all that work has been done. DEI, I grabbed a couple of graphs from BI that basically show the distribution of the program, and you can see by age and ethnicity, we've got a pretty good span there. So I'm comfortable with that. There are DEI assignments in the courses, and from the DEI audit that was done, we caught places that might have been a little bit lacking. And we've tweaked some assignments as well, but really the DEI was kind of in there because of all the teamwork. And Ollie, I appreciate your comment about the teamwork. I will tell you one thing that we did do in these courses regarding teamwork was that I talked to all of the faculty. I really think the faculty sell the teams by selling the value and importance of teamwork. And in project management, you just can't get away from that. There's a team you have that you have to manage. And so it's really, really important. And just having the instructors hitting that, letting them know, hey, this is important. This is why employers want you to do this. It's important. You gain this skill is one thing that I think has promoted teamwork, and actually we've gotten more positive responses. I also put in some information in the courses about team development. So the forming, the norming, the storming, the performing, all of that good stuff to kind of give the students some context to working in those teams. And we have a pretty diverse group in the MSPM as well. So the DEI audit showed us a few things that we needed to fix, and those are being worked on as we revise the core courses that we are in the process of doing revisions. So we're moving forward with that. Faculty scholarship hasn't been tracked very well with the MSPM. So I have reached out to faculty, and of course we're gathering this information for ACBSP as well. And it's not that they're not doing anything, it's just they're not telling us about it. And so getting them to report that out is another goal that I definitely have, and that's in the works too. There wasn't a lot from last year's APAR that was there. Everything was kind of in transition and flux, so I didn't have a lot to put as far as reflecting of the last year's goal, because most of them weren't completed. But there was talk about moving this to an OA format. I think that didn't happen. So I didn't have a lot to reflect upon. So I'm really looking forward to next year, seeing, what happened this year to next year to see if we've met the goals that are there. The program doesn't have an advisory committee, but we do have representatives on the SPM advisory committee that help us with ideas for project management, help us source projects, those types of things that are there. I am mentioned a GAC, so we were really excited that went so well. The MSPM is also accredited by ACBSP, and we're seeking a reaffirmation. We're in the middle of that self-study right now. So everything that is being integrated into the courses as I'm doing the revisions are based upon those two guidelines. GAC is, of course, a little more project management focused than ACBSP, who tends to be more business focused, but we're meeting all of those too. Joel, you had a question about a certification for the PMP. The PMP exam, they have to take the exam to actually be certified. We do have a project management certificate or emphasis area and certificate that are there, but I don't think that it's been marketed that strongly. We actually have more students in the certificate and the MBA project management emphasis than we do in the MSPM as it goes. So the courses, because we are GAC accredited, count as PDUs, which are the educational requirements to sit for the PMP to begin with, and they can also count to recertify. So those continuing ed credits are there, and the courses serve to help the students with that. So again, I'm hoping marketing will help push all of this here. The other thing that we've been discussing is a project management club. SPM in general has been working to create a vibrant student ecosystem. So we have the students a little more involved and touching base with us to feel like they really belong to the CityU family. And so that is a goal that Pam and I will both be working on, is to get that club established too. And let's see, 2-year goals are there. I didn't have any comments there. Enrollment is a really big one, and raising that student satisfaction is really important as well. We also haven't been very good at collecting alumni data. It'd be interesting to see how many of our students actually passed PMP, you know, and got certified, and we're working on that too. So the alumni information is there that I'm hoping to have there. All of my course revisions have been settled out. I think I mentioned them in the actual report earlier. We've got to get a couple more on the schedule with CCI, but we have established that revision schedule through, I believe, winter of next year. So
Fantastic.
any questions, comments, anything additional? Okay, awesome, thank you.
Well, Candace, thanks for the MSPM report. You are also next on the BSHA and the MSHA. You have 30 minutes. You can do one, you know, the BS for 30 minutes or 15 minutes, MS for 15 minutes, or you can kind of just talk about, you know, pull up one of them and talk through both of them. Because
Sure.
they generally connect.
They do. And there's been a lot of changes again, and especially just recently, to be honest, as we move away from that OA format back to the ON format. Am I showing the right screen? Yes, okay, good. So we had some issues with both of these programs because they were OA. The feedback we got from students was not positive. Many of the faculty, and I just hats off to my faculty. They're probably the only reason that we have students in this program still, because they work so closely and to fix the courses, to add content in that was missing. Because basically we had a textbook and students were writing reflections every week. There were no discussions, none of that. And the students were really letting us know that they needed that. They wanted that peer-to-peer contact. So we did get approval to move from the OA format back to the ON for both programs. And that is in the works. So we're doing it quarter by quarter. The first ONs launched this quarter. And we're getting all of those fixed, adding in readings and videos and discussion boards. But my faculty were touching base with these students via Zoom. So they were doing a lot of synchronous back and forth with the students, which was really helpful. Some of them even threw in a discussion. Of course, it wasn't graded, but the students were participating on those discussion boards. So I really feel in both programs. And if we take a look, you know, we pretty much got for the EEOC data fairly high scores. And again, that's fully due to my faculty. Touching base with them, I've had since I came on board, I've had 2 faculty meetings with just the HA faculty, and we've also added 2 new faculty members. Even though the programs are small, it's I need a bench basically because we do have things coming up and we do have things in the works. So I'm trying to, and they're also willing to teach these low enrollment classes as well. So I just hats off to them. So that engagement piece is there, but we're hoping that will be fixed. Greg, I haven't even looked at these comments yet. I think really the problem is that the students aren't making qualitative comments because they're not being prompted to make qualitative comments. This is something that I've talked to the faculty about as well. And I wrote up a blurb that basically I put in my classes when I teach that this data is really important. This is your chance to give voice to your concerns and your opinions. And it helps me as a program director to be able to say, hey, we need to revise this. Like we look at this data. So I have this blurb that I send out when I ask students to fill out the EEOC data that I gave to the instructors. So I don't think it's necessarily a problem of the questions on the survey as it is just promoting them to take the time to fill out the survey, would be the way I might respond to that one. Again, the PDGs for both of these programs were not complete. We are in the process of fixing that. I do not have that one completed quite yet. We did the MSPM first, but I will be working with Mary very closely to get that done. Mary, I'm sorry, I just saw your hand was raised. I'm talking away.
I would love to see the blurb about the end of course evaluation survey. And I'm just going to mention here that we are working very hard towards summer term to move off the platform that we're currently using for end of course evaluations, partly because because it's not working very well. The system isn't functioning as it should, but also as a cost-saving measure for the university as a whole. We've rebuilt the survey in Brightspace and plan to add it into courses as an end of course evaluation survey module. And so we're just kind of tweaking the design on it. So Candace, I may be able to, I'd love to see what you've written and see if we can incorporate that into the messaging to students that goes with that module. And it will end up being imported into all master courses before the before the end of May, so that we can get it out there. And what we're recommending is that it be moved up after the last numbered module for students to see as they kind of get through the course. We can't automatically place it there, unfortunately. But anyway, that change is coming, and I'm hoping that leads to increased response rates and visibility for students and ease of access for students and faculty. So more to come on that, but just so people know we're kind of heading in that direction. And if you have questions or ideas you want to share with me, please feel free, shoot me an email, or there's time here. I'd love to hear it before we go live.
Thanks, Mary. Yeah, I think that's just a struggle in general. And again, I go back to faculty. I think that the most important thing is faculty can do is promote this stuff and frame it in a way for students that that makes it worthwhile for them. And if you do that, I think that at least in my past experience. So hopefully that is working as well as far as that data goes. One really exciting thing that I would like to mention about the BSHA is that we have just signed articulation agreements with UPIAP, which is located in Puebla, Mexico. Their students that are going to medical school, dental school, and physical therapy school are going to be taking our courses to double major. So they will come out of the med school in Mexico as a doctor, and they will have a degree in healthcare administration as well. We are anticipating that for the summer, we will have at least 15 students beginning in a cohort going through the BSHA articulation agreement courses. And so really, really excited about that.
Candace,
Hoping, yes.
you know, I asked this question to Sumatra because it didn't make sense to me, and maybe it's a good question to provide consideration here in this group. But you've got a BSHA, a bachelor level program here, and you're bringing in doctors from Mexico into a BS program. So why? How does that work? That might provide some good context as to what's the benefit.
Sure. So in Mexico, doctors graduate from high school and then they go straight into med school. So in their 4-year program in Mexico, they don't have a bachelor's degree, they don't have a master's degree, they go straight into med school, into that MD degree. So they are taking undergraduate level courses, if you will, as they build up to their medical degree in Mexico. And so having a healthcare administration degree that is at this level, remembering that as they begin their med school program, they are undergraduate students, that is an undergraduate level. It makes sense to pair the healthcare administration, because I'm sure you guys have probably noticed as well, doctors tend to, and I don't think it matters what country you're in, to be incorrect, but doctors tend to focus on doctoring and don't understand the big picture of the clinic or the hospital, or those types of administrative issues that they're working on. They're focused really hard on getting their medical degrees, which is what we want them to do. But it'll also be good for them to have a general understanding of how the healthcare system works. And I will also tell you that a U.S. credential is really important in Mexico. So if you can glean a U.S. degree, we're seeing this happen at CETIS with the BAM degrees as well, and it's just really important for them to have that U.S. credential under their belt as well. So I hope that puts some of it in context, Greg.
Thank you. Yep. And Joel has a question.
Yes.
Yeah, hi. Thanks, Greg. Candace, great report so far, and this is really for both programs in the whole HA strain, if you will. But the model with articulating with UPIAP is great. And I'm wondering, are there opportunities for students to have such immersion type experiences with healthcare systems in their respective areas? Because I think, as you said, the clinical aspect of medicine is one part, but running a hospital is completely different, and the whole administrative side to it. Always helpful to have students see what it takes to, run the hospital, make sure budgets are right and everything. Are there those experiences in either program or opportunities to partner with whomever to have students either shadow or field trip, have those type of things for them to cement their learning?
We're actually working on that as well, Joel. In the MSHA, we have I have a faculty member. One of the new faculty members I hired is affiliated with Seattle Children's. And so as we move forward with the MSHA, which will also be brought down to 39 credits, the new capstone is going to be a 6-hour practicum, and we're working to establish those practicum opportunities at Seattle Children's in person. So that is in the works definitely for the MSHA. I also have one of my other faculty members is really active in recruiting students for several other opportunities. She's out of Louisiana though, so most of it isn't Seattle based. So yes, we are definitely looking for that. It's difficult to have practicums and interns. We have to remember that a lot of these students they're working, we have HIPAA rules, they have to be trained, it's a little tricky. It's not, like going into Microsoft and doing an internship or something like that. There's patient privacy and things that need to be considered too. So, but we're hoping to have Seattle Children's have some change in CEO and CFO. And so we're kind of on hold until that gets established. But Sumantra and I have plans to definitely pursue that. And like I said, it's already the foot's in the door. We're just trying to finalize it.
Okay, well then, no, thank you. Being married to a healthcare administrator at Seattle Children's, good to hear.
Oh,
So we can talk
ah,
offline.
I did not know that. We do need to talk offline.
All right, no, thanks, Candace. It's great.
Yeah, you're probably aware of all the changes that are going on there.
Yep.
Um, the program really, as far as peer engagement, Ali, to answer your question, and this would be for both as well, both programs as well. We're working on creating team assignments because everything was online asynchronous. There was nothing. So we're working on creating more team assignments. We're working on creating obviously those discussions as we convert quarter by quarter. That's what we're taking care of. So peer engagement is really important in healthcare administration. So it was a piece that was definitely missing. So we'll do what we can as far as online goes, just like in any other classes for the peer engagement. Again, the faculty have been really integral in having those synchronous sessions, so that's been helpful. The equity audit did not cover the healthcare administration program, Heather. I'm not quite sure why. But the results that I got back, it did not cover it. I will tell you that, equity in healthcare is huge. That's a big deal. And especially since the pandemic, we've been talking a lot about those disparities. They've always existed, but now they're being highlighted. And so I don't have information from the DEI audit, but we are going through as we convert the classes back to ON and making sure that those pieces are in there. They exist, they just need to be updated. And so we're working on that too. And yes, Joel, racial disparities, socioeconomic disparities, those things that exist in healthcare that have been around for years, but like I said, it's really come front and center, I think, public facing, which is really important. So COVID brought us some positive changes, right? At least I was able to highlight some things. The reports from last year were very brief. I didn't, again, for both programs, I didn't have a lot to really talk about. We don't have any accreditation here. Heather, we're working with marketing, social media campaigns. Marketing hasn't moved quite yet to specific programmatic marketing. It's been kind of the CDU in general, working with the outside marketing company that we're working with. And so SBM in general is looking to market to specific programs. As far as program directors go, we're pushing things out there on LinkedIn, pushing things out there on social media, reposting things and working with marketing, but I don't have a firm marketing plan for the healthcare administration degrees. Once we bring the credits down in the MSHA and get the Seattle Children's partnership solidified, I think that will be a really great marketing piece for the MSHA. And two, again, COVID, the burnout of nurses and healthcare people that were in the field that are moving to healthcare administration. I think this is a really timely moment for us to actually get out there and market these programs well, just because of what everyone's been through and where they're moving to. And most of my faculty were nurses that are now healthcare administration, so they can speak to that. I don't think there's anything much different. Let me see if I have any. I covered the OA. Thanks for the question, Heather. Okay? Joel, we do have a member, one of my faculty members sits on the SBM advisory board for healthcare administration, Gail Schlesler. And so she is the one that kind of brings that to the table. I have those faculty meetings with my faculty very frequently too, just to make sure that healthcare industry is being covered. All of them, except for one, are actually working in the industry. So, and I think that's it. Any other questions or comments? I'm really excited to see the changes. I'm excited to see outcome assessment get straightened out and hit the ground running. And I feel like we've made some really good progress this year. So I thank you for your reviews and your comments, questions.
Well, thank you, Candace. Let's see, we have got, looks like you finished early, which is great. Nice work, a lot of good information presented. We can move into Presley's program, the MS Management and Leadership. Presley, are you there? Would you like to go ahead and share your screen?
Yes,
And
we'll do that
Presley,
now.
once you have, just make sure that what you want to do, because the MSML is kind of the precedent, if you will, precedent program of these other programs that you have, you're certainly welcome to connect the MS Management, the MS Org lead to, and the MS Human Resource, which I may think is probably outside of that category. But those other two you might want to talk about how they connect with the MSML.
Well, thank you, Dr. Price. That was actually my plan all along.
There you go.
Okay, so the APARs, no fault of anyone's, have seemed very condensed. And some comments came in late Monday night, and some comments came in today. So I'm not actually going to address any of those comments because I haven't had time to reflect on them. But I will go back and address them later. So forgive anybody who commented late. I'm not going to be able to get to your comments today. I was off on Tuesday. Otherwise, I could have gotten to the Monday ones, but I did get to some of Greg's, which came in early Monday, but I didn't get to the only one that actually responded in time, just to give her shout out, was Heather Henderson, who responded on Thursday, which was the day before the due date. So thank you, Heather. That's why I like opening these in Microsoft Word, because you can click on them and see when somebody actually responded. Keep a check on you people. Okay, so I'm just going to give you a big overview of the MSML, and then talk about how we've broken those off into the other programs and kind of go over kind of what the goals are and everything like that. So you can see the program data was highlighted. I'll discuss that a little bit down here. The biggest change and the biggest thing that affected a lot of different parts of the MSML's review this time was that we were in an OA format for this APAR year. And the OA format, as Candace already discussed, was the online asynchronous. And the goal of that was to basically make the classes so students could take them at their own pace within the 10-week structure. So my instructions on the OA format were to remove the discussion boards, create exercises that students could turn in and be graded, and to remove due dates, and to remove all announcements, because they didn't want the student to have to see a weekly announcement because they may be working ahead, et cetera, et cetera. So we did all that. And it didn't go well. As you can see, some of the scores went way down, mostly around the instructor's involvement in the class, because the instructors weren't supposed to be involved in the class. That was the whole point of the OA format, was to have the instructors be graders, basically, and just give feedback to the student through grading and not through any other way. It did not work well. As I discussed in the end of course evaluations, the students, while occasionally had a professor that went over and above, like Dr. Gerhardt's, the comment I put in here, it really was mostly the students felt lonely, they felt isolated, they felt like the instructor wasn't there, that it was just a computer, like a correspondence class, and that they really didn't get a good experience. And because of that, our enrollments did drop. We had students leave the program or transfer out into other programs. So we were given permission to go back to the ON format, and the ON format is the regular one that we all have. It's also asynchronous, but it is a, we do have those other essential things. Now, what I did do, and I've been wanting to do this for a long time with the MSML, is I only added back 4 or 5 discussions to the class. The rest of the assignments that I had, the discussions that I had converted to assignments, I left those to be exercises, reflection exercises, or just regular exercises where they basically write a short paper, 1 page, 2 pages, that kind of thing, just to check in and make sure they know what's going on that week. But for the most part, I added in the discussions where I felt the discussions would be something that the students would want to discuss. The real reason I think discussion boards are important is because of the student connectivity. They want to know each other. They want to be able to communicate with each other and know who's in their classes, make networking connections. And the OA format just didn't allow for this. And so now adding discussions back in, adding announcements back, and adding due dates back, I think makes the students feel more like they're connected to the class, that there's actually a teacher looking at what they're doing and having expectations for them. So overall, I think that's going to make a big change in the program. So I did that. I've already done that for all of the MSML classes. The concentrations, the HR, OL, and management concentrations, they were never converted over to OA. They were still in the original ON format, so I didn't have to really do anything with those. So that ended up working out in my benefit, which is what allowed me to get all this work done. So let's see, discuss Heather's comment. Yeah, I think that the conversion to the new format is going to make things better. It's going to give the students more of a sense of community. And you can see the retention numbers. Part of this is because of cannibalism from the new MSML, I mean MSM, MSHR, and MSOA OL classes. What happened was we rolled out the MSM program in the winter of this APAR year, and students, but all of the programs had been approved the previous summer. So the start of this year, all the programs had been approved for that, but marketing wanted to slowly roll them out over time. So they were going to roll out, I think they actually rolled out the MSM in the fall, and then they were going to roll out the MSHR and the MSOL in the spring. But they wanted me to advise the advisors about the new programs immediately. So I did, and I did let the advisors know that the program plans were available if the students wanted to start now. But we weren't officially rolling them out to these dates. And fortunately, I mean, the advisors did a great job, and they let students know about these new programs, and a lot of students converted over to them at the beginning of this APAR year. And that moved the students out of the MSML and into the MSM or the MSHR or the MSOL. And so that's not reflected in this, which is kind of why the student count is down in this reflection of this year. It actually, if you were to look at it, it's probably closer to 12 if you count all the students in the other programs. Okay. Now, learning outcomes. So I was told by someone that there was no data on this, so I didn't really look at it. And then later, when I saw Greg's comment, I went and started looking at the program outcomes dashboards in PI, and the data there is incorrect. Basically, it reports 100%. So I can see that my program outcomes were assessed, and I could see how many students assessed them or were assessed, but everything reads 100%. So there's no actual breakdown. And I know, since, for example, some of my outcomes are in classes that I teach, I know that I have given students less than exceed standards. So I know it's broken down. Now, what I didn't see in time until today was that I was supposed to contact Christian to get the data. So I did not do that. Sorry, Christian. I did not know I was supposed to until it was too late. So that's on me. because I'm sure the data is probably there and Christian could have gotten it to me, because I think he did for PIAM, but I did not get to him in time, so I'm sorry about that.
I can do
can't
that in a
go
little
in.
bit.
What now?
I can do that in a little bit and send it your way.
That would be great, because then I can add it to this, and when I update the other comments, I can go ahead and add that in too, so it'll at least be on the record.
Yeah, and Presley, I'll just share that like what we've got is an initial data pull that happened. Well, what we had was an initial data pull that was done like last November. And then I think Jim just completed a new data pull, and I don't know if it's refreshed on the dashboard yet or not, but we've been trying to validate it in different ways. And so it'd be great to get together with you and compare the class and some of those data points so we see what might be happening, because it's happening. If there is an issue with your classes, it's an issue with others as well.
Yeah, great. I'll that would be fun. I would be glad to do that. Okay. I love digging into data. Okay. So I think the biggest thing that happened, the most thing I was most proud of in the year was converting the MSML and being it, or not converting it, but breaking it down into 3 different programs. So basically the concept was that the MSML was designed to give students an understanding of both management and leadership, in that they are complementary skills, and we wanted students to be able to have both of those skills. But what it was found was that it was confusing to some students. So and they didn't want to take the whole 42 hours. They wanted to be able to graduate in a year. So Sumatra challenged me to find a way that they could graduate in a year and it would be more focused. So we created a Master of Science in Management, a Master of Science in Organizational Leadership, and a Master of Science in HR Management. And to achieve that, basically, we took some of the MSML classes and then mixed them into the concentration classes to create 33 credit master's degrees that could be done if they took 9 credits a quarter, could be completed within a year. For the HR classes, we pulled in the 4 HR classes that currently were part of the emphasis, and I created another class, the HR 559, which is People Analytics, which was at the recommendation of PIAM, and which is a great recommendation because it is a up-and-coming big deal in HR. So we've added that to the program. With the Master of Science in Organizational Leadership, I added the 4 change leadership classes, and those change leadership classes, created years and years ago by Dr. Price, are for the original Masters in Leadership, are amazing classes. And they're consistently full because a lot of MBA students take that emphasis to get an MBA with a emphasis in change leadership. So those classes are very popular and they're great classes. So that was incorporated with some of the ML classes to create that master's degree. And then for the Master of Science in Management, of course, I pulled in 4 MBA classes and then added some of the ML classes to create a new degree as well there. All of those programs now have new enrollments in them. So they had some this APAR year, and then there's some new ones that have come in recently. So I feel like they're going to be popular. The MSM program, which is the Master of Science in Management, is being heavily pushed in India right now. So it will become the first international student program that I have, which means I'm going to have to create a version of it that can be taught live. The MBA classes are already taught live in one form or another at different times of the year. The ML classes are 6 credits, so they'd have to be taught hybrid. 3 credits, 3 hours worth in person, and then 3 hours worth online. So I'm going to work on a format for that and get it established. Let's see. Yeah, so going back to that is good deal. So the equity audit, again, as Candace pointed out, the equity audit really seemed to focus more on the university and the school. It did not seem to focus on programs that specifically, and there wasn't anything in it that I considered helpful. I didn't actually do the equity audit for my programs. I'm not sure who in the school did the equity audits, but I didn't contribute to that in the School of Business. I did it for the doctoral program in the School of Education, And again, I didn't find it really helpful a lot beyond the composition of our faculty, that kind of thing. Heather, I'm not sure what B is. I know what DEI is, but I don't know what B is. Could you inform me of what that means?
Belonging. So now we're talking DEIB with the belonging at the end.
I see. Okay, well, that I did not know. That's good to know. Good information. Overall, I made sure in when I've created the programs that I incorporate videos and other learning resources that are international, that are written or starring people of color. Some of my faculty who are of color have do actually record videos for the classes, and I've embedded those videos in the classes so they have like a local perspective as well. So we have that, but there can be obviously more done, and that's what I want to understand more about. So I do think that it would be good to work with the DEI committee, so we can kind of find out more ways of what they're thinking about when it comes to incorporating that into the content. Faculty scholarship and research, because of the APAR short turnaround this time, I didn't really have enough time to gather a lot of this data, and I don't think any of the faculty have done anything in this year. I did report the previous year some of the things the faculty members have done, but I'll try to update that in the future in a more advanced manner. There is at this time no way that faculty normally reports this information, so hopefully that's going to be added soon. I know that Joel has been working on a program to kind of try to capture this kind of data from our faculty and have it updated regularly. So I'm hoping that's going to come online soon, so we can cut down on having to just email them and beg them to tell me what they've done in the past year. Me and Dr. Price Greg did present at the International Leadership Convention in Washington, D.C. in the October of this APAR year. We had a roundtable where we talked about the doctoral programs, actually. So that was part of it. The DEI goal from the previous year did not actually happen. I was doing too much work in converting the programs back to ON and some of the other things that I didn't actually get to this. So I'm sorry about that. We diversified the programs in the MSML. That was completed. And like I said, we do have new students in these programs, so they're beginning to do well. Greg asked if we hit the financial targets, and my comment of that is they don't tell us what the financial targets are, so there was no way for me to know whether I hit targets or not. So I am not sure about that question. And we did want to work on increasing the compatibility with SPM, and we have done that, especially with the MSM and the MSHR, because students who are in the MBA program who may have taken the HR classes first and then done a few MBA classes but didn't really do any more, a few of them have already come over to the MSHR. So the first 2 enrollments were actually MBA students that came over. And if the students take the MSM, they can take those MBA classes, and if they decide they want to go back into the MBA, they can, or they can come back and finish the MBA after they do the MSMN, and then they would have 2 graduate's degrees. So that would be, those are ways that we've increased that ability to move between programs. We don't have an advisory committee. We didn't have any specific accreditations in this APAR year, other than the normal ones. So goals. The content in the MSML has not been refreshed really since 2017. It really does need to be looked at. Part of the problem is, I'll be honest, is that, at 55 years old, when somebody says a resource is from 2013, I think, oh, that's really recent. Not realizing that actually is 10 years ago. So I have to get that perspective out of my head that times I lived through just recently and did academic work in are actually now old times. And you have to look for more modern resources, especially now post-pandemic. So that's going to be kind of a look at all the reading lists and seeing what can be refreshed in the program, if we can bring in newer resources and stuff like that. The HR classes, you'll see later that those are the only kind of thing that I'm going to have budget for. I am working on revising those HR classes. What had happened again is that the person who designed these HR classes originally then had to convert them to a new HR classes that were supposed to be in alignment with SHRM, which is the Society for Human Resource Management certificate. So the students could take the test for that certificate after completing these 4 classes. What this person actually did was find 4 HR textbooks and then make the class match the HR textbooks in all 4 of these classes. So as you can imagine, HR textbooks aren't really that different between one another. They may have this different perspectives and go into different things in depth, but they really aren't that different. So a lot of these HR classes are very repetitive. And what they did, which I wholeheartedly disagree with, is the big assignments in some of these classes, not all of them, are exams. They have a mid-quarter exam and a final exam, which for a master's level class, I don't think is appropriate. And if these were practice exams from SHRM that would help them do well on the certificate program, that would be one thing. But these are actually exams that came from the textbook that's just used to prove the students read the readings. And to me, that's something you do at a bachelor's level. You just don't do that at a master's level. So I'm working on removing those, creating new assignments, which I'm going to need an SME help for because HR is not my field. So I am going to need help on revising that. The end of course accommodations show the students appreciated the lessons in power and privilege that I already include in the program, but we're going to need to work on that more. I really want to reevaluate the master's, the ML class, which 521, which is the management class, and 533, which is the leadership class, and try to incorporate at least one module or more that focus on DEI issues, social justice issues, that kind of thing. Overall, I think we need to push our students to be more critical thinkers. And that's true in our doctoral programs, but I also think at the master's level, and when I'm not saying that they need to understand critical theory of any type, but what they need to understand is you can examine things from 2 different angles, and there are other ways of looking at things. And I think that I don't do a good enough job of that now in this program. So that's kind of one of the things I really want to work with. And I think the Social Justice Committee could help with identifying some content that I might be able to include that would add the DEI in the coursework, because obviously I want to have a diverse faculty, which I believe, we do somewhat. We do have people of color in the faculty. We do have women in the faculty. Actually, women make up the majority of the faculty at this point. But I would like to make sure that I've been thoughtful about that as well, and just make sure that students can see some diverse representation. Strategic plan, long-term, we want to, we're working on ACBSP accreditation right now, but I put that within my 2-year plans because it is something that's going to happen within the next 2 years. We're probably not going to get it in this APAR year. It'll probably start the next APAR year. I'm not sure about that, but Candace, is that the goal? Like it should start this coming summer? Or it didn't start this APAR year, but yeah.
Well, it'll be 2024 when the accreditation is renewed, because we're good through 2023. So the report will be submitted this summer, and then we're expecting a site visit in the fall, and then a decision in the winter.
Yeah. So that's going to be some time out. So I put that in my 2-year goals. I defend that, Greg.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Presley, Joel has a question as well.
Okay. Yeah, Joel.
Hi, yeah, great stuff, Presley. And one thing, just in terms of a resource, tomorrow is the Social Justice Coalition Open House. And I know we've mentioned, DEIB and several of these reports. And so it might be a good resource for all of us to check it out, because certainly bringing the conversation, highlighting that and seeing how we can integrate a lot of these things into our programs. Just wanted to throw a, ad for that. And Tony, I know it could speak to that as well.
Yes, and I did put that on my calendar for tomorrow. I do plan on attending.
Yeah.
So thank you for pointing that out. I think it's going to be a great opportunity to see what's going on. I haven't come to any of these before, so it's probably why I missed the B. But yes, I'm going to be glad to be there. I think it's going to be very, very helpful. Yep. The other certification I would like to get is SHRM. Some of our competitors in the area have SHRM. That basically it's SHRM recommends programs that align with their standards for curriculum. And I have those standards. I have the curriculum that they suggest. So when I get the program, the HR class is redone so that they fit the curriculum, along with the leadership class that's included from the MSML. And the communication class that's included from the MSML. I will have checked all the boxes that they want in an HR program. So I'm hoping to go for that certification within the next 2 years as well. 3-year goals, really looking ahead, there is a great chance that the MS children will consume their parent. I want to evaluate that. I don't want the MSML limping along with 2 students in it here or there. So if these other 3 programs take off, like I believe they will, I probably will get rid of the MSML, because I think when students have a choice of a 42 credit or a 33 credit, it's hard to justify those extra credits. Now, to me, it isn't. And I've told the advisors, if you have a student that really wants basically 2 competencies within their master's, then it's a better program for them because they get a real concentration in leadership and management. But I think students are more looking for I want to say I have a management degree, I want to say I have a leadership degree. So we'll see how that goes long term. So that will be part of that evaluation. So that's it for me. Anybody have any questions?
Thanks, Presley. Take a drink.
I know. Woo.
You're going to move into, are you going to talk a little bit about your direction for the other year 1 programs that you have?
Yeah, I can talk about the goals for those.
Gotcha. Okay. So is there any on this MSML, aside from what you've talked about, do you have a question for the group, or maybe that you want to solicit any kind of feedback for, or do you just want to move into the other programs?
I don't really have a question for the group at this time. I think that I obviously asked the questions as I went along that I had from the comments. And I think that what Joel said is true, that the open house tomorrow can be really helpful in me understanding kind of what resources are available. So I think that would be the other question I have. So I think it's going to be answered tomorrow. So I'll just wait to see what I learn there.
Very good.
All right. So let me stop sharing this. And I'm going to share MSM in management. Okay. Yep. So basically the goals are very similar to what I have for the MSML, because obviously the MSML is a big part of all of these programs. So content updating and focusing on DEI are going to be common in all of the 3 smaller programs. I just copied and pasted those directly from the MSML. The additional goal for this program will be to make the MSM hybrid and online, so it can be taken by international students and veterans. And the veteran population could also be a big one for this group because of the connection between people in the military and their desire for business degrees or management degrees. So that's kind of a goal there. Long-term, building the international students and the military students is a long-term goal. And then obviously evaluating the success of the program, to me right now is the only, like, I don't know what I don't know yet that could go wrong or be problematic. Because one of the challenges of running a program like the MSM is that 4 of the classes are MBA classes. So they're out of my control. I can't control when they're offered. I can't control how they're offered. I can't control the content that's in them. So one of the comments I made is that this in the next APAR, I will be more collaborative with Misty, who manages those programs, so that I can find out more about what's going on inside them. I do have control of the HR classes along with Misty. I'm still not officially the program manager of the HR classes, but I do have content control because I'm revising them. So that gives me a little sense of what's going on with those. With the change leadership classes, they are MAL classes. I've always controlled those. So I do have control over those. And so for the OL, I have complete control in when those are offered, how they're offered, that kind of thing. I don't anticipate the OL or the HR to go international, so I don't anticipate them ever having to be offered in person. So we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Okay, any questions about the MSM?
Just, I wonder, do you, with the MSML being decimated the way it has, and students coming over into here, do you get yourself into a situation where you have a lot of ILCs?
No, and the reason for that at this point is because the students who were in the MSML were taking the classes that are also a part of the MSM or MSOL or MSHR, because they took ML classes, and those are for the MSM and the MSOL. There are 3 ML classes part of them. The communication class is common in all of the individual classes. So that's ML 511, communication and influence. In the management class, they also take ML 521, which is the management course, management and strategy. And then they take the 552, which is data analytics and visualization. Then along with that, they take 3 MBA classes. So that completes that degree. For the MSOL, they take the, change the communication. They take the ML 533, which is the leadership class, and they take 552. And then they take 3 of the change leadership classes. For the MSHR, that's a different. They take the 511 communication class, and then they take, I want to say 521, the management class. But then the rest of the classes are HR classes. And so they take the new HR class, the people analytics class, 559, and then they take the 4 current HR classes. So that one's a little bit different in its format than the other ones are. But yeah, so anyway, the point is they can move into them pretty quickly if they already have taken MSML classes. So I haven't had any ILCs.
So you have in any one of those courses, you have 3 or 4 different students. You have students from 3 or 4 different programs.
Exactly. So like the ML 511 class had 2 students that were HR, 2 that were MSM, and 2 that were MSML the last time it was offered. So I imagine that's going to get more and more. So in the end, my classes are full, even though the numbers may look low for any one individual program, which I think is a plus side to these blended programs. Definitely. Any other questions? I don't have any questions for the group. Okay. Let me stop sharing this. And how's my time doing, Greg?
Presley, you're over time by 20 minutes, but that's okay. No,
Oh my
I'm
God.
kidding. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
No.
You're doing just fine. You can
Okay.
slow down if you want with your speaking.
All right. So this is the MS organizational leadership. Again, I copied in the content refresh and the DEI work. Definitely want to do that. I don't know why this is in here. I must have cut and pasted this into the wrong thing.
Would you be able to update that before these get archived?
Yep. I'm going to have to obviously do some work on these to the rest of the day. So I'll let you know when they're updated and when I get the data in from Christian and added that stuff in as well. Yeah, okay, that's not correct. So let's just not focus on the OL because I don't know what that was. Because I swear that was done. Okay, so this is the HR management. Okay, HR management. So focus on DEI, content refresh, and then SHRM alignment. Those are the 3 goals for the HR MSHR. The goal is to get SHRM accredited here and then to evaluate the success to make sure it's viable along with the org lead and MSM programs. The viability of the program, again, is the long-term goal. So those are the 3 programs in general that that are the spinoffs of the MSML. And again, this is year 1, so this is the beginning of it. And I still don't know what I don't know, like I said, going long term. Questions, comments?
Yeah, no, these are just year 1 things. So it's a matter of waiting to see if they work.
Exactly. And, it would be good in the long term, to see this concept, because I know that Sumatra does like to spin off and have a big selection, a big portfolio of classes, programs. He's big into that. So I think that in the long run, this will be a nice mini case study to see how one of these things where you basically break up a bunch of different programs from one main program so that they're kind of interconnected and whatnot, to see the effectiveness of that. This will be a great case study for that in the long term.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions from the group?
I don't have any questions. However, it'll be really interesting to see how it all goes. Presley, we've talked about this like 5 years ago or whatever in terms of bringing the MSML here, and that's still a goal and still something that I would like to do. So don't be surprised when I reach out to you. Right now, I'm focused on another master's program, maybe bring the EDG over too. Well, that's not all my role, but to bring the MSML up. Anyway, I can't talk, but.
And we'll see.
Thank you for the acknowledgement at the beginning. Sorry, I was away at a conference over the long term. That's why I tried to jump in early. So, but thank you for that comment.
You're welcome. And I'll connect more, Mary. We can talk more about this outcomes. And Kristen, I'll wait and look forward to seeing that data. And I'll follow up with you as well. Okay. Thank you, everybody.
All right, Presley. Thanks for your time. And let's see. We have, you know what? We have 30 minutes left, so it's not that I'm going to take it and use it. But if normally I don't ask before any meeting to say if there was anything that anybody wanted to bring up that would be an important aspect of where we're headed, because after, let's see, I've got May and June. Those are the remaining months for this academic year. Next month, just FYI, go into Teams so you can see what we have. Let's see, going into May, we have 2, 4, 6 programs to review there, which is another, relatively heavy month. So please watch for the emails. Know that what the schedule is. Try to get your comments in before the deadline. I know that everyone's busy, but it's really helpful to the program director. That's just, I just can't understate that. It's important that we get these questions in so they have time to reflect on what your questions are. Let's see, and then we have in June's going to be our last month for the academic year. We have a 5-year review, so please look at that. And then we have we have 4 other programs that we're going to be looking at there as well. And I believe one of them, the master, yeah, this year, this one here, the 5-year for the Master of Counseling Canada, that's also going to be a part of this review process too. So there are larger types of reviews. If you could go into I believe the data for the 2 5-years is there. You can start looking at those now. The other 3 programs, I believe the data is going to be put into those programs within maybe about a week or 2 from now, according to Monique. So just she'll email me when she's done with that. I'll inform the program directors of those programs that that is done, and that would be Heather and Presley. Yeah, so I don't have anything else. If anybody has any question that's pressing, you're welcome to ask it. No? All right.
If I may, Greg.
Sure.
So, yeah, so just a general comment, right? So obviously I joined this committee in January, and I'm trying to think ultimately how this impacts respective programs. And so I'm wondering, is there a mechanism or way or opportunity to actually track changes that are made in real time rather than having to wait until we go through this process of review? Because correct me if I'm wrong, but you know, what gets presented here really corresponds to months ago. It's not really like real time current changes, if you will. Again, I'm trying to wrap my mind around how maybe we can take the current processes that we have in place and make them better, right? Yeah, just throwing it out there.
Okay.
Just throwing it out there.
That's always been the challenge, and having done this for a number of years, we've tried a few different ways, and when we tried to make it more current, if you will, it became very confusing, and it became confusing for the program director. And what it did was it didn't allow us to see a snapshot from year to year to year to year. And accreditors look at what it is that we have in our APARs to be able to assess, their needs for the accreditation. The data, the dashboards, those are current, right? As long as the data is good and it's up to date. That data is today's data, and program directors can absolutely look at that data and make adjustments necessary in the program as they go forward. And there's a portion inside the APAR where they can speak to anything that happened during the year that wasn't in the previous year's report. So there are opportunities for that. It's just a matter of, I won't go down that path of talking about the challenges associated with data, but once data is starting to get really good, let's just say it that way. And once data is becoming very good, program directors will understand that it is, and that those that are supporting the data will be able to help the program directors understand the data better. Thank you for that question.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Again, I'm just trying to understand, how this work has an impact on quality of respective programs within the schools. I get the impression that we're collecting data respectively as much as we can, and we're able to present it here. But then I wonder, what are the actual like actions done to advance whatever has been suggested in the presentations? Again, I'm just trying to understand, trying to understand. But it sounds like we've made a lot of moves. We've made a lot of moves that in recent time frame, and there's been a lot of efforts made to progress.
when you, Tony, when you go into the APARs and you look at these things, the comments that you make would help not only the program director, but all of us to understand what are good questions to, what should we be looking at? So the questions that you ask are going to be helpful, maybe not today, but they will be helpful going forward. So the sooner questions are asked, the sooner in the future we'll be able to get to address those, better questions. Anything else?
I just want to jump on. I don't want to belabor the meeting, but Tony, you make a good point in terms of the data that we capture, and a lot of what we've been doing historically is capturing outputs and outcomes and measuring those. But perhaps there's a conversation in the future. We want to take a look at impacts to the students, by the program, et cetera, to the community. I think those are the sexy things that help drive and motivate us within the program. Beyond, obviously, yes, we need our outcomes correctly. We need our outputs and measure those, and all that's great. But at the same time, I think there's emerging an opportunity to capture impacts. What is it? What are we really doing through the programs to make a difference in X? As we were sharing earlier with some of these other programs, great stuff that we're hearing from the students doing some stuff out there, faculty are doing some great things. Maybe there's a time to capture that through our data process in a more frequent basis too. So just some comments and thoughts more so than a solution or proposal.
Thanks, John. All right, everybody. Thanks for your time today. Appreciate it very much. And we'll see you in a month. Be sure to look at the APARs, at the time that it's scheduled. Try to do as many as you can and make the comments that are necessary and we're always looking for specifics, right? And details. So keep that in mind as you read comments in the report. All right, everybody. Thanks very much. Have a great rest of your day.